Alright, so in this video, I'll be working out a few past paper questions, and I'm going to represent these the result in standard form, significant figures, nearest whole number, and stuff like that. So our first example, is going to be, let's see if I can find a past paper question here. First example is going to be number 1. We have the square root of 101.6064. So with this number, we want this number exactly. We want it to 1 dp, as in 1 decimal place. We want this number to 3 sig fig, as in 3 significant figures. And we also want this number in standard form. So let's see how we'll solve this one. So what we're going to do, we'll be using our calculator to determine this value. So when you put this in a calculator, so square root of 101.6064. So we're going to get for our answer 10.08. So we want this number. So they said they want it exactly. So after we find the square root of 101.6064, we got 10.08. So this answer would be our exact answer. Now they said that they want this answer to 1 dp, as in 1 decimal place. That means they want the one number after the decimal point. Now we have 2 numbers after the decimal point. So what we need to do, we need to find the first one. The 0 would be the first one. Now we have to focus on the number that comes after the first decimal place. It's a 8, so that means I'm going to have to round up the first number. So remember, once the number that follows the particular decimal place we need is greater than 4, we're going to round up the number, or round up the place that we actually want. So this number to 1 dp is actually 10.1. Now they said that they want this number to 3 significant figures. So what we're going to do, we're going to round this off to 3 significant figures, because right now this number is written to 4 significant figures, so we need it to 3. So the 1 would be the first, 0 would be the second, we put our decimal point. Now the 0 would be our third significant figure. The 0 right here would be the third. Now, but we have to also pay attention to the number that follows the significant figure that we need. So what I'm going to have to do, I'm going to have to round up this number also. So the answer is not 10.0, but 10.1. That would be our answer to 3 significant figures, or 3 sig fig. Now they said that they want the answer in standard form. Now, and if you realize, all of these questions that I'm solving, we use the exact value to determine these answers. So this number in standard form, 10.08. So remember the standard form formula, a times 10 to the n, where a should be greater than or equal to 1 but less than 10. So 10.08 is actually greater than 10, so that means I'm going to have to manipulate this question. I'm going to have to move the decimal point to the left. So I'm going to have 1.008 times 10 to the, how many times did I move the decimal point? 1 time. Which direction? Positive direction. The left means to the positive direction. Now we don't have to indicate that it is positive. We could have also had written 1.008 times 10 to the first power, we didn't even have to write the first power. We could once we know that it's to the first power, we could have also written 1.008 times 10, and this, any one of these could be our answer. So that's our first example. So let's see if I can find another example in which we're going to work. So another example is example 2. They have 9.72 multiplied by 12. So let's rewrite it here. So it's 9.72 multiplied by 12.05. And with this question, they want it exactly. They want it to 2dp, as in 2 decimal places. They want it to 2 sig fig, as in to 2 significant figures. And they also want it in standard form. So the first thing we need to do is to solve this question. So what we're going to do, we're going to use your calculator again to multiply this number. So it's 9. So it's 9.72 multiplied by 12.05. And that is going to give me 117.126. So that would be our exact answer. All right, so that's our exact answer. So next to the next question, they said that we wanted to 2dp, meaning 2 numbers after the decimal point. So it's going to be 107.1. So the 2 would fall in the second decimal place position. But remember, we have to pay attention to the number that comes after. If it's more than 4, we just round this number up. So it's going to be a 3 instead of a 2. So this number is written to 2 decimal place. They said that they want 2 significant figures. The third one. Now, remember, we're going to start from left to right when we're indicating significant figures. So the first significant figure, remember we're using the exact value, would be the 1. Second significant figure would be this 1. Now we have to pay attention to the number that comes after, because this is one thing that I didn't explain when we were going through significant figures. I like to explain this when we're doing the questions. Now, the number that follows the second significant figures, if it's more than 4, we have to round up the number that we want. So that means I'm going to have to round up this 1. It's going to turn a 2. Now, 12 is not the answer. 12 is not the answer. The thing is, when we're dealing with significant figures, the answer must be closely related to the question. 12 is not closely related to 117. So I'm going to repeat. When you're rounding up significant figures, the answer must be closely related to the question. So what I'm going to have to do, I'm going to put a 0 here. Now 120 is written to 2 significant figures. Remember, when we have a 0 in the number that follows a number, a non-zero number, and it don't have a decimal point, we would not consider it to be a significant figure. So remember, 117. If we need 2 significant figures, the answer would be 120. Remember, the 1 falls in the first significant figure position. The next one that follows here fall in the second significant figure position. But we have to pay attention to the number that follows. If it's greater than 4, we add 1 to the number that fits the position that we want. And remember, we needed what? 2 significant figure. This 1 fits the second position, which indicates the 2. So 7, we have to pay attention to it. So it's greater than 4, so we have to round up this number. So 120 would be our answer. Now they said that they want it in standard form. So 117.12. Remember the inequality. 117 is greater than, way greater than 10. It's greater than 10. We need the number to be less than 10. If we move the decimal point 1 place, 11 is still greater than 10. So we're going to have to move it again. So that means I'm going to have 1.1713 times 10 today. How many times did I move it? 1, 2. 2. I remember the direction. We move it to the left. So that means this 2 is going to be positive. This is our answer for that question. I'm going to work probably about 2 more examples, and then that's it for this thing. So let's work another example. Let's make this one a bit challenging. Well, a bit, not exactly, but a bit. All right, so this is the third example. So we have 11.2 all squared minus 0.375 divided by 3. So what we need to do first thing we need to do, if we're going to solve an operation like this, I'm going to solve this square. So I'm going to have 11.2 squared. I'm going to have 125.44 minus, solving this side in the bracket now, 0.375 divided by 3. Well, I could have actually written down this 0.125. Then we're going to do what? We're going to subtract these questions in the exam. Just use a calculator. Don't bother beat up a brain upon it. Use a calculator and just simply punch them in and get an answer and go. So the answer is 125.315. So this would be our exact answer. So they want us to write this number. Where's the question? They want us to write this number exactly. So this would be the exact answer. They want us to write this number to 2 significant figure. So to 2 significant figure, this answer, remember, we have 125. 1 is the first significant figure, 2 is the second significant figure, but we have to pay attention to the number that follows. So we're going to have to round this up. So remember, it's not 13, but 130. So 130, this is written to 2 significant figures. They said that they also want this in standard form. So this number written in standard form is 1.25315 times 10 to the positive 2 power. I'm not going to really explain that. Hopefully you understand how I wrote that in standard form based on the previous videos. Now the fourth question that I'm going to work is, let's look at a question like this. 4.2 multiplied by 10 to the 4th power multiplied by 5 times 10 to the negative 3. Now, if you realize they gave this question in standard form, they say write your answer in standard form. Now, I'm going to work this out as simple as possible. As simple as possible. Now, we know that, so let's use a different color marker here. We know that 10 to the 4th power means I'm going to multiply 10 by itself 4 times. So the answer would be 10 times 10 times 10 times 10, which is 10,000. So 10 to the 4th would be 10,000. Now 10 to the negative 3, if you have watched the previous video, you would know that 10 to the negative 3, so I'm going to isolate this. 10 to the negative 3, I'm going to use the 3 first as in the positive 3, so I'm going to have 1,000 to the negative 1 power. When you have a negative 1 power, remember, I'm going to have to reciprocate this or flip this, so it's going to be 1 over 1,000. So let's work the question with these identities. So I'm going to have 4.2 times 10,000 multiplied by 5 times 1 over 1,000. Now, 4.2 times 10,000, that's going to give me 42,000 multiplied by, now 5 divided by, so this is over 1, 5 times 1, that's 5. We can just put 5 over 1,000 here. So what we're going to have 0. If we should divide 5 by 1,000, we're going to have, so let's put that in the bracket, we're going to have 0.005. So it's 10th, 100,000. So yeah, so we'd have that. Then if we should use our calculator, so I could have also written this in a different ways, or solve it in different ways, but I'm just using my calculator. So 42,000 times, so 42, hold on, yeah, it's in the camera. So 42,000 times 0.005, that's going to give me 210. So 210 would be our answer for this one. I thought they said they wanted it in standard form. So 210 in standard form is, so 210 is way bigger than 10. So I'm going to have to place a decimal point here and move it 2 places to the left. So I'm going to have 2.10, don't really have to write the 0, times 10 to the positive 2. So this would be our answer in standard form. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to write this exact question a different way. Starting from here, 42 or 4.2 times 10,000 times 5 over 1 multiplied by 1 over 1,000. So we know that this section is 42,000 multiplied by this. I'm going to write it as 5 over 1,000. This is 42,000 over 1. Now we could have cancelled these 3 zeros. Then we would have 42 times 5. Now 42 times 5, 40 times 5 is 200. Now 200 plus 2 times 5, that's 10. So the answer is 210, just like what we got before. 210. Then we could have written this in standard form as 2.10 times 10 to the positive 2. Could have also worked it out another way in which we didn't have to transpose this thing. So I'm going to put it up here, hopefully it doesn't confuse students. So we know that 42,000, well, just leave it as 2 different ways. Don't want to confuse students. So I'm going to really stop it here, or let's see if I can find another technical example similar to that one. Let's see if we can find another one. All right, this one seems to be okay. So let's see. So I'm going to work on another example. 17, let's see if we can push it up a little bit more. So let's say we had this example. We had 2.43 times 10 cubed minus 5.26 times 10 squared. So these are some 6 past per questions. So this is the exact question. So remember, 10 cubed is 1,000, 10 squared is 100. So I'm going to have to multiply 2.43 times 1,000 minus 5.26 times 100. So this is going to give me 243, that minus, this is going to give me 526. Use our calculator to minus this. So it's going to be 2,430 minus 526. That's going to give me 1,904. They said that they want the answer in standard form. So I'm going to have to place a decimal point here and move it to the left based on the what we understand so far. So the answer is going to be 1.904 times 10 to the positive 3. So this would be our result in standard form. So let me see if I can find one more similar to this one. Okay, so this was what was this? This was 4 or 5, not really sure, but last track I hope what one. So this one is 1.9 times 10 cube divided by 0.7 all squared. So let's see if we can solve this one. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to manipulate inside the brackets first. So I'm going to have 1.9 times 1,000, because we know that 10 cube is 1,000. We're going to have to divide it by 0.7 afterwards, then we're going to square it. So just use our calculator to make this a bit easier. So to multiply inside the bracket, that's 1900 divided by 0.7 all squared. So I'm going to divide using my calculator. So it's 1900 divided by 0.7. That's going to give me, wow, that's a kind of large number. That's going to be 2714.28571 4. So that's a very big number. So after that, I'm going to have to square this number. So let's square this result. So I'm just going to type it in. So it's 2714.285714 squared. That's going to give me 7,000. No, it's not 7,000. It's actually 7 million. So it gave me what? 7,367,346.937. So this answer, they want it in standard form. So what I'm going to have to do, I'm going to have to move this decimal point because this number is, it's way bigger than 10. So I'm going to have to move a decimal point if we're going to put this number in standard form. So I'm going to have to move it to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 places. So the answer in standard form is going to be 7.367,346,937. If you realize I wrote back everything, because they did not say I should round it off to any decimal, certain amount of decimal places or significant figures. So that's it, times 10 to the 6th power. So this would be our answer. Kind of an awkward answer still, but yeah, that is how we would solve questions looking like that. So anything getting CXC, I don't think it should give you any problems. Should be able to solve it. Let me see if I can squeeze in one more question. Let's see. One more. Let's look at this one. So we have 3.2 times 10 to the 4th divided by 2.1 times 10 cubed. Now if you don't really remember these things, use a calculator to assist you. So more than likely, if it's a multiple choice question, just make sure that you're practicing these things so that you can solve it using your head. So 10 to the, we know that 10 squared is 100, 10 cubed is 1,000, 10 to the 4th is 10,000. So it's 3.2 times 10,000. So this is going to give me 32,000 divided by, we know that is 2.1 times 1,000. So this is going to be 2,100. So just use a calculator to work this out quick and fast. So it's 32,000 divided by 2,100. So divide that to get what? 15.23809,524. We need this in standard form. So 15, it's still greater than 10, a bit greater than 10. So we have to move decimal point one place to the left. So it's going to be 1.523809,524 times 10 to the, how many times did I move the decimal point? To the 1 power. So what if we had something like this? 3, and we needed to put 3 in 3.6, for example. We need to put 3.6 in standard form. Now, we know that this satisfies the inequality that says that A should be greater than or equal to 1 but less than 10. We know that. So what I need to do is to add. So I'm going to have 3.6 times 10. Now, the power that I'm going to have to indicate is 0. I'm going to have to put 0. Why? We did not move the decimal point, and another reason, this satisfies the inequality. So when we don't move the decimal point any at all, we can put a 0 for the power of 10. When we do move the decimal point to the right, we know that then the power is going to be negative. If we move it to the left, we know that the power is going to be positive. So just keep those things in mind. So that's it for this particular video.